Hello again. So by now you know how to cast on your stitches, how to knit, and today we are going to learn how to purl together. Let's add 10 more stitches to our cast on row. So we have a nice swatch of 20 stitches in total to work on. You can make your swatch as little or big as you wish. We're not creating anything, it is just to show you how to learn how to purl. And the more you practice, the better you will get at it. So take your time, be nice to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes and enjoy this learning journey. Alright, so we have our 20 stitches. Let's learn how to purl. If you know how to make the knit stitch, the purl stitch will not be hard. Do not be intimidated by it. A purl stitch is really the mirror image of a knit stitch. Alright, so you casted your stitches on your knitting needle. The knitting needle where you have your stitches is called your main needle, and that is always going to be the knitting needle where when you begin your row, most of your stitches will be on your main needle. The second needle is the empty needle. We are calling this needle the working needle. I am going to hold that needle, the empty one, in my dominant hand, which is the right hand for me. For people that are lefties, I will try to find tutorials and link them for you down below. So my main needle will be in my left hand and my working needle in my right hand. Alright, so now pay attention to the structure of our loops, okay? So our loop is made out of a string that goes around the needle. And that string right there that goes around the needle is called a leg. Then you have a front part of the leg, which is here at the front part of your loop, and a back part of your leg right there. So you have the front leg here and the back leg there. All right, take your working needle in your dominant hand. You're going to take the tip of your needle and insert it still in the front part of your leg, but coming in the opposite direction of what you did for your knitting. So if you remember, for your knitting, you came from left to right in the same direction as your main needle. And for the purl stitch, you're going to come from right to left in the opposite direction as your main needle. Still in the front leg of your stitch, but from left to right. And you still have an X. Let me show you again. For the purl stitch, first of all, you need your yarn to be in the front, not in the back of your work. And then you're still working in the front leg, but you come in the opposite direction of your main needle. Then you're going to put your thumb right there on the needles in the intersection so it doesn't slide. Take your yarn, wrap it around your working needle. Use your thumb to help that main needle go down and pick up the stitch. Now you remember you are at that weird stage when you have half a stitch on your main needle and half a stitch on your working needle. And again, use your index from your left hand to push the stitch off your main needle into the working needle. And put on your end yarn and your working yarn to tighten the stitch you just made. Not too tight and not too loose. That is the secret. Let's do it again. So take your working needle from right to left into the front leg of your stitch. Your working needle is in front of your main needle. Yarn over. Push with your thumb, helping that working needle to grab the stitch, and push the rest of the stitch from the main needle to the working needle. Remember, that is the goal. All the stitches that are on your main needle need to slide to be switched to the working needle. Let's do it again. And you're always doing this with your working yarn in the front of your work for the purl stitch. Let's do it again super slowly. So the yarn needs to be hanging in the front of your work, as opposed to when we were knitting, it was in the back. So you have your yarn hanging in the front of your work, going from right to left in that front leg, in the opposite direction of your main needle with your working needle. Pinch with your thumb, at the intersection when you create kind of a little X with both of your needles. Yarn over around your working needle. If you notice, your working needle is in front of your main needle when you purl. So wrap it around your working needle, push with your little index underneath that stitch, and then chase the rest of the half stitch from the main needle to the working needle. You have 2 stitches on your working needle now. Let's do it again. Super slowly. Take your time. And one of the secrets of knitting is really having the right tension when you wrap your yarn around your crochet needle and when you release it, so it can slide nicely without being too tight or too loose. And that only is learned by practicing. At the beginning, your stitches might not be really even the way you want it, and that is okay. The more you knit, the more even it will get, I promise you. The more you practice, seriously, it's cliche, but practice makes perfect. Let's finish this row together purling so you can watch my fingers while you practice. So the knit stitch and the purl stitch are the 2 most important stitches for knitting. Once you know those 2 stitches, the possibilities are endless. Endless, my friends, and I cannot wait to explore the world of knitting stitches with you. By the way, this is what a purl stitch will look like, a bunch of little half circle bump coming towards you. And here you are, getting to the end of your 20 stitches. Look how pretty the purl stitch looks. And here is the last stitch. All your stitches now went from your main needle to your working needle, and your working needle becomes your main needle. And now you're going to, with the yarn in front again, repeat exactly the same thing for your second row. And this is what the purl stitch will look like after a few rows. And next time we will learn how to create the stockinette stitch. In the meantime, practice and I will see you next time. Happy knitting, bye!